In 2026, Sarah earns $94,000 a year. She has a master's degree, a stable job. No addiction, no gambling, no designer clothes, no exotic vacations. And every single month she ends up with almost nothing left. She's not careless. She's not irresponsible. She does everything right. And she still can't save a dollar. Here's the part that should stop you cold. Sarah is not unusual. Right now, 44% of Americans describe themselves as cash poor, holding less than $200 in savings at any given time. And 1 in 5 of those people earns over $75,000 a year. This isn't a story about bad habits. This is a story about a system that was quietly rebuilt around different priorities than yours. And today, we're going to take it apart. Stay with me because what I'm about to show you will completely change how you understand your own financial situation. Here's what we're covering. First, the real numbers, not opinions. Verified 2026 data that most people have never seen in one place. Second, where the money actually goes. We're going to build a real paycheck and watch it disappear in real time. Third, the structural forces that made saving this hard and why it has almost nothing to do with self-discipline. And fourth, what actually works. Not stop buying coffee. Real frameworks for 2026. Let's get into it. The U.S. personal savings rate in January 2026 was 4.5%. The historical average is 8.4%. Americans are saving at roughly half the rate they historically have in the same country, with higher productivity and more technology than at any point in history. More productive than ever, saving less than ever. Bankrate's 2026 Emergency Savings Report found that only 47% of Americans could cover a $1,000 emergency from cash. More than half the country, over 160 million people, is one car repair or medical bill away from going into debt. 24% have no emergency savings at all. Zero. Total U.S. consumer debt hit $18.19 trillion in Q1 2026. According to Equifax, a record high, and Americans are paying an average of over 21% interest on their credit card balances. Some lenders are charging 28%. And here's the one that genuinely stunned me when I first read it. 35% of households earning over $100,000 a year say they need credit cards or buy now, pay later services just to cover basic monthly expenses. Six-figure earners using credit to survive the month. This is not a discipline problem. This is a math problem. And the math has been quietly changing for years. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Sarah earns $94,000 a year. Let's build her actual take-home pay. Federal income tax, $14,700. FICA taxes, $7,191. State income tax, if she lives in Texas or Florida, $0. If she lives in California or New York, add another $6,000 to $9,000. Conservatively, Sarah takes home around $5,000 a month. Now the fixed expenses. National median rent for a one-bedroom in 2026, $1,713 according to Apartment List. Car payment on average used vehicle $400. Car insurance $175 a month. National average health insurance employee contribution $129. Groceries $400 for a single adult on the USDA moderate cost plan. Utilities and internet $400. Subscriptions $86. Phone $85. Student loan payment $393 on average for borrowers in standard repayment. Total $3,781 a month. Take home $5,000. That leaves $1,219. Before gas, before clothing, before a haircut, before a birthday gift, before a medical copay, before anything unexpected at all. And then January comes, and the car needs new tires, and February brings a dentist visit, and in March a friend gets married, and Sarah is in the wedding party. None of that is reckless. That's just life. And that's why the number comes out at almost nothing every month. Not because Sarah is failing, because the margin between income and unavoidable costs has been shrinking for years. Here's what happened to that margin. In 2000, median U.S. rent was $602 a month. In 2026, it's $1,713. That's a 184% increase. In 2000, the average new car cost $24,750. Today, it's over $48,000. Consumer prices overall are 26% higher than they were in December 2019 in just 6 years, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Meanwhile, real wage growth for the typical worker has crawled. The Economic Policy Institute found that while U.S. productivity grew over 60% between 1979 and 2020, hourly compensation for the typical worker grew less than 18%. The gap between what people produce and what they're paid has been widening for decades. The gap between what things cost and what people earn is now wide enough that an entire generation of working adults is living inside it. This is not individual failure. This is structural change that happened slowly enough that most people never saw it coming, and then the system got inside your head. When people are under sustained financial pressure, not a crisis, just the low-grade ongoing stress of never quite having enough, their cognitive function changes in measurable ways. Researchers at Princeton and Harvard found that financial scarcity consumes cognitive bandwidth. It pulls mental energy away from planning and long-term thinking and redirects it toward getting through this month. Psychologists Sendil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir documented that the cognitive drain from financial worry is equivalent to roughly a 13-point drop in IQ, not permanently, but consistently as long as the pressure persists. This means the people most in need of good long-term financial decisions are also the people least cognitively equipped to make them at any given time, because their mental energy is being spent on survival. And then the system adds one more layer. The shift from automatic pensions to voluntary 401k plans in the 1980s turned retirement saving from something that happened by default into something that required a monthly conscious decision. Behavioral research consistently shows that when saving requires an active choice rather than an automatic one, participation rates fall dramatically. The subscription economy created what researchers call subscription creep, small recurring charges that individually feel trivial but collectively represent a significant monthly drain. A 2026 consumer survey found that people underestimate their monthly subscription spending by 40 to 80%. Buy now, pay later services processed over $80 billion in U.S. transactions in 2025. These products are deliberately designed to reduce the psychological weight of spending by breaking it into smaller installments. They are not neutral tools. They are friction-removing machines, and every dollar of friction they remove is a dollar more likely to be spent. This is what the system actually looks like. Not a conspiracy, just markets that were optimized over decades to maximize spending and minimize saving, and then asking individual people why they aren't saving enough. The advice you've probably heard most: cut the coffee, cancel the subscriptions, pack your lunch isn't wrong exactly. It's just not the problem. If Sarah canceled everything she possibly could, she might recover $200 a month, maybe $250. Her rent is $1,713. Lambda Finance's analysis of paycheck to paycheck data identified 3 structural drivers pushing even 6-figure households into financial fragility: housing burden, healthcare exposure, and savings rate decay. Not lattes, not subscriptions, not lifestyle choices. Housing, healthcare, structure. So what actually moves the needle? The first and most important thing: automation. Not willpower. Automation. An automatic transfer from your checking account to a separate savings account on the day your paycheck arrives, before you have a chance to spend it. Behavioral research from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that automatic 401k enrollment increased participation rates from 49% to over 86%. The money you never see feels less like sacrifice. That's not a trick. That's how human cognition actually works. The second thing: attack the big fixed expenses, not the small ones. Roommates, geographic flexibility, aggressively negotiating a lease renewal. These are uncomfortable conversations, but they move $300, $500, $800 a month. No combination of canceled subscriptions comes close. The third thing: build a $1,000 emergency fund first. Before investing, before aggressively paying down debt. Here's why. Without an emergency fund, every unexpected expense becomes a credit card charge at 21% interest. The emergency fund breaks that cycle. Bankrate found that people with even $1,000 saved feel dramatically more financially secure than those with nothing. Start there. The fourth thing, invest consistently, even in small amounts, not to get rich overnight. Because waiting until you have enough to start means you never start. $200 a month at 8% average annual return, starting at 28, becomes approximately $530,000 by age 65. Not from a high income, from consistency. And the fifth thing, protect and grow your income. Everything I've described optimizes the gap between income and expenses. But for a lot of people in 2026, that gap cannot be closed entirely from the expense side. The income side has to move too. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The fact that 44% of Americans are cash poor is not a story about 44% of Americans making bad decisions. The fact that 35% of six-figure earners need credit to cover monthly expenses is not a story about irresponsible high earners. Consumer prices are 26% higher than 2019. Wages haven't kept pace. Housing has doubled. Healthcare is relentless. And a system built to encourage spending rather than saving is running in the background of every financial decision you make. Understanding that is not an excuse to stop trying. It is an accurate map of the actual terrain. And accurate maps are where good decisions come from. Sarah, the woman we started with, is not failing at saving. She is navigating an economy where the cost of being alive has grown faster than wages for 2 consecutive decades. Where the gap between ordinary income and ordinary expenses has been quietly widening, 1 percentage point at a time, for years. She doesn't need more discipline. She needs a different framework, and now she has one. If this finally explains something that has felt confusing or frustrating for you, drop a comment below. Tell me your situation. I read every one. Hit the like button if this helped. It genuinely reaches more people who need to hear it. And subscribe to Wealth Panels, because next week, we're going somewhere I haven't seen any other finance channel take this conversation. We're going to look at why the financial advice industry itself has a structural problem, a mathematical conflict of interest built into how advisors get paid. That means their incentives and your interests are often pointing in completely opposite directions. It's not a scandal, it's just math. And once you see it, you'll never consume financial advice the same way again. I'll see you then.